Hey everybody, it's Ron over here at Becoming Enlightened Together. We're going to go ahead and do another rune spread for today. Um, okay, let's just go ahead and get into it. Let's see, the overall weekly energy continues to be that of Nalthis. Nalthis is the letter N in the runic alphabet. Basically, it stands for things such as, it's also in the reverse, so to make that clear. In this particular case. So for the whole week, it's basically dealt with things such as going in the wrong direction, somebody perhaps who's either experiencing or they themselves are extremely possessive, somebody who's more or less involved in or again producing an inappropriate constraint of freedom for somebody. Either you yourself are feeling, constrained, or somebody else in your sphere of influence is being constrained from being able to either move freely in and out of a situation, and it could be physical or it could be psychological. Okay, and again, as we talked about throughout the week, it's seemingly talking more along the lines of psychological, although there may be somebody who is physically trying to keep somebody else, if you will, from moving forward for some reason. Okay, so we also see distress and toil and drudgery as a result of this constraint. Somebody who feels that they're in need or have needs, necessities not being met. So they're suffering from deprivation, both physical as well as psychological starvation, emotional hunger, in other words, and poverty. So this is seemingly somebody or somebodies who, at least at one point, were, well provided for in some way. And it looks like many of those materialistic necessities or necessities are no longer being met. All right. Now the past energy for today, what we pulled last Sunday for today, is Canes. Now, Canes is tattooed upon my hand right here. Okay, and it basically is in the upright, as are the remaining 5 runes in this particular spread. All 5 of them came out in the upright for today. Very good. It's a good way to end this week. So you can look at Canes as being like that light bulb going off in your head when you get that inspiration, that revelation, that idea, or that understanding of something you've been, pondering upon. So it talks about the torch, the beacon, knowledge, vision, revelation, inspiration. It also speaks about somebody's technical abilities as well. Perhaps you work in a technical trade, your abilities. Talks about daylight clarity, positivity, harnessed power to create your own reality in this life. Talks about someone who is open to new strength and energy now. Somebody who is basically experiencing rapport with others, who may be very passionate right now with someone or someone's. So lust, passion, and sexual love is very much a part of this rune as well. And again, nothing at all wrong with, sharing that physicality with, somebody, as long as those other people or that other person is very much in alignment with you. And hopefully it's not just for the sake of just getting off, because then it becomes something base, and it's just no longer something that is balanced. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Now people can disagree, and that's fine. It's your life. You can make your own decisions. But from my experience, and again, looking into these subjects as deeply as I possibly can with the information that is available, that is what I've come to the conclusion of. And again, I believe truly that balance is, something to be sought after in all things. And what we would call sin is simply an imbalance of something, emotionally, physically, materialistically, whatever the case may be. Wanting something more than you actually have need of, or taking more than is, required or even just, to suit your desires or what have you, hoarding, Just think about the 7 deadly sins, and you understand what I'm talking about. Now, the present energy is another very powerful rune, and it too is in the upright, as I stated. This is Sowillo. This is the one that looks something like a lightning bolt that the Nazi SS incorporated as part of their, insignia and so on. Fortunately, it was kind of twisted and distorted as a result. It's unfortunate that something like this was perverted or used in a way that it was not originally intended to be used, I should say. There are parallels, but that's beyond this topic of discussion. So Sowillo in the upright talks about suns, like the sun card in the tarot deck. It's the brightest card in the deck. Well, this is a very, very powerful and bright rune, so to speak. So honor, achievements, clarity again. So that's this theme in this particular daily read. Victory and success. Success also being another part of today's, overall message. Goals being achieved. It also talks about the life force being available. Elemental forces, in fact. And again, if you're looking at things such as mythology, you're talking about the nature spirits, elementals, the fae, things like that, okay? We're looking at wholeness. We're looking at the contact between higher forces and your subconscious, okay? And of course, that's going to mean different things to different people depending on their own particular accepted belief system. But that's what the rune itself more or less embodies. So that's why I'm throwing that out there. All right, so again, we're looking at a lot of positive energy being shared here. Passion, sex, lust, rapport, victory and success and the things that we're up to and doing. That's the present energy. And contact also with the higher forces. So if you're in that, energy, and I imagine most of the collective probably is, as we're closing out a cycle. That means entering in a new cycle, and that means you're very much in tune with the elemental forces. Now, the obstacles and challenges are Wunyo, and Wunyo is another powerful rune, and it too is in the upright. So in terms of its challenges, well, it talks about harmony and blessings, affection, desire, pleasure, ecstasy, glory, spiritual rewards, general success, again, another part of that theme, and recognition of one's worth. Now, how that could be an obstacle is simply that we allow these good things to cloud our judgment. You get to a point where you think that nothing can touch you, that you're now invincible, or that everything is going as planned, and nothing can stop me now. And that's a lot of times when something happens, just to bring us back down to earth, so to speak. So in that particular light, it could be looked at as an obstacle. Otherwise, it's a very positive rune, okay? So it could be simply also reinforcing the positivity of the energy that is out there for the collective right now, which is all very, very good. Some of the most powerful runes we're getting today. So if you're looking for, really sowing your wild oats, so to speak, and spending some good quality time physically, emotionally, and spiritually with loved ones, this is the time, okay? Now, in terms of our help and advice, we got Lagus. Now, Lagus, too, is in the upright, and we're talking about everything dealing with water, rivers, lakes, streams, the ocean itself, the flow of water, the leaking of water. But anytime we talk about water, we're talking about, like in tarot, the cups, or emotions, so to speak. So that's exactly what this is also referring to. It talks about your emotions, your dreams, your intuition, imagination, your fantasies. Again, it all goes in, hand in hand. Maybe there's a lot of things that you're wanting to do and thinking about doing, want to explore, and that's kind of where this is going. It says do it, but within reason, of course. Now, this doesn't apply to those who are out there, again, like I said, just trying to find somebody as a receptacle or whatever the case may be. Forgive me for being blunt, but it's a point that has to be made. This is somebody sharing, Well, what we're seeing here, something that's beautiful with somebody else, and they have more invested than just the act of exchanging fluids, so to speak. It's more. It's passion oriented. It's fantasy oriented, but it's also a bonding of souls that we're seeing here. So the psychic feminine, which is a high quality, very spiritual being. That's what this particular rune also refers to. Talks about the deep, going deep within. And of course, when you're just looking at things from the outward, you're not usually associated with being a very deep individual. So this could also talk about things dealing with the underworld, kind of like the Capricorn or the Devil card in tarot, so to speak, which isn't entirely bad, but it does imply things such as addictions and things of that nature may be, potentially possible in this regard. And again, if you're misusing things such as sex, then of course that could be you. It talks about also at this time being successful in travel and in acquisition. So again, extremely, extremely good energy. And the future is exactly the same as the one I just read a few minutes ago. It also is Wunyo, and it too is in the upright. So again, Wunyo being wind, harmony, blessings, affection and desire, pleasure, ecstasy, glory, spiritual rewards, general success overall, and recognition of one's own worth. Your authenticity. Again, 400 times more powerful than the energy of love itself. It's fascinating stuff, when we look at things from an energetic perspective, I mean. So, and that's really what divination really all is about, just interpreting energy and understanding it more. We can look at it from a three-dimensional perspective, from the subatomic level, and how it affects things such as atoms, electrons, and things of that nature. But you can also see it in the grand scheme of things, how everything, indeed, everything is energy in and of itself. Even something that is inorganic, from a rock, which is organic, to a table, basically, that is made from organic materials and then made into something that is completely different. It's inorganic, but there's still energy that can, constitutes those two things. They're just at different resonances, frequencies, vibrations, if you will, so they manifest differently, materialistically speaking. It can be complicated in theory, but it's also helpful to understand how, the nature of reality works in this matrix, and so on and so forth. I don't want to get off into off the beaten track like I often find myself doing. I promised before that I would try to, pull in the reins on that whole, thing. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and end it there. It's a very positive, energetic, field that we're in right now. So utilize it, harness it, enjoy yourselves for all of those that are involved with this, and I wish you well, have fun, and stay victorious. And of course, much further in the long, long future from now, we will all meet again in Valhalla. Till then, take care. God bless.